Welcome to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast, brought to you by Phoenix Boats. Now, here are your hosts, Alabama Bass Trail Program Director, Kate Donaldson.
Welcome to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I'm Kay Donaldson, the director of the Alabama Bass Trail, and your host for this week's podcast. And this is post-Alabama River. And if you saw on social media, I made a post that said the Alabama River was a thing. It was a test of wills and fortitude this week, and not just for our anglers dealing with continuing changing water conditions, but for our team. We received a lot of rain on Thursday and Friday. The majority of the parking in that area is on grass and dirt, which is a test all to itself. But then also just traffic control, narrow entryways and exit points from the park. It makes a big loop. And so guys were letting other teams in, and a lot of teams in the back of that pack were not getting to the boat ramp in time. And honestly, it's a long, steep boat ramp, very difficult for some to maneuver. And it just caused for a lot of confusion and frustration when it took time to get the boats out of the water. So John and Daniel and I are aware of that, and we are working on another plan for 2025. So I do know the frustration there. I heard it several times in a nice way and in sometimes not so nice way. So, but I'm a big girl and I can take it. We got someone down to the ramp as soon as we could. It's just really hard to bring 15 employees to one event to manage those kinds of things. From a budget perspective, we try to keep our cost as low as possible while providing a great experience to our anglers. And it's just, it's a very costly thing for us to bring another 2 or 3 people there to manage the boat ramp. The city had another event going on, City Fest, which took some of their volunteers that we normally have at that facility, took them away. So it really fell on us, and we just didn't have enough employees to manage the ramp while we were doing all the other things. So sorry about any inconvenience for the anglers. I know once you fish 8 or 9 hours, you're ready to go home and see your family, as we are as well. But I do apologize for that, and we will have a better plan worked out for 2025. Something I failed to do last week, and I can't imagine why I forgot that, because I absolutely have one of the best mothers in the world, as I know a lot of you do. I want to wish a belated Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And if you're a dog mom, you're still a mom. I'm a dog mom. Matter of fact, he's laying in there by my bed right now. It's raining outside and he is scared of rain. So my Riggs is laying right there by Mama's side of the bed. But I do want to wish everyone a belated Happy Mother's Day. I hope all of you anglers took care of Mama, took care of your mom, took care of the mom of your babies, and hope that everyone had a great day. It was beautiful outside, so we had great weather for it. Again, I don't really know why I missed that last week, but I did. So I apologize for that. Moving on, I do want to take just a moment and send out our thoughts and prayers to a couple of people. I mentioned on live on Saturday, great friend of the Alabama Bass Trail, current angler in everything we have, Terry Tucker, is going through some health complications right now, had to miss the tournament on the Alabama River. I missed a call from Terry earlier today. I tried to get back with him before I did the podcast. I know a little bit about his situation, but I'm going to kind of hold off on that for another week or so. I do know he was meeting with his doctors this morning. Hopefully we'll know more in the coming days, and I can report a little bit more about that on next week's podcast. But Terry is a great friend of the bass fishing world. He is a great friend of the Alabama Bass Trail. He is the reigning Alabama Bass Trail championship champion with Jeremy Green. Again, fishes everything we have. So just keep him in your prayers if you don't mind. And then yesterday late, I saw a Facebook post about Mike Autry. You may know him as tournament director for the OGS tournament series down at Lake Martin. He fishes the Alabama Bass Trail South Division, actually fished with us on Saturday, suffered a heart attack sometime on Sunday, was rushed to the hospital, underwent some tests. They are treating him with medication at this point. I don't really know what that's going to mean later on as far as surgery or anything like that. But of course, having gone through that with my son, I can just imagine the fright that his family was going through. So I want to send out our prayers to Mike and Vivian, his wife, and his girls and his grandchildren that I think were with him during the time that he suffered this. So if you would please keep those two ABT anglers in your thoughts and prayers. I know they would appreciate that. Um, again, I I don't like to deliver those kinds of news, but the Alabama Bass Trail, we really feel like our guys and gals are family, and when they hurt, we hurt. And I talked to Terry on Saturday right after live, and I could tell that he was very emotional in telling me what he had to tell me. So I'm going to wait a little bit. Hopefully, we'll get a report from the doctor. Terry will give me the okay to talk to you guys about it, and we'll go forward. But until then, if you would just keep those gentlemen in your prayers. I do want to talk a little bit about the Alabama River before I get your winners on. Mr. John Pollard, Tim Watkins took the win on the Alabama River 1878, and they did not weigh a big fish. So everything in their bag was a big fish. So we're going to talk to them in just a little bit. Actually, we're going to talk to John. Tim said he had a very busy Monday and would not be able to join us on the podcast. John was traveling to Texas to be with the Faulkner Bass team as they compete, but said he would take time to visit with us via video conference. So we'll have him on in just a little bit. Wanted to talk a little bit about what we saw on the bait report. Comparatively from the 2023 season to 2024. We were there about a month later than we were there this year. So we did have a few less teams participate. Typically, when you get down to that last tournament, if guys are not in the points race, they don't see any way to make it to the championship, and it's not their home lake. Sometimes they just won't show up, saves them a little bit of an expense. So we had 194 teams in 2023. I'm talking about the stats there. 194 teams compared to this year. We had 212 teams. Last year we had 99 limits. This year we had 101 limits. 151 teams weighed in 2023. 169 weighed in this year. Winning weight in 2023 was 1699. Winning weight this year 1878. Probably just the timing of the year. I have a feeling that, because we had this event in previous years in, I think, April or May, and we had a 20.19 weight. So bigger weight than the year before. Big fish, very stable, 5.27 in 2023, 5.24 this year. Bass caught. Again, we had 18 more teams this year. So this makes sense. 651 bass caught in 2023, 703 bass caught in 2024. This is what surprised me. In 2023, 461 largemouth caught. In 2024, 381 largemouth. Spotted bass in 2023, 190. In 2024, 322 spotted bass. I thought that was real interesting. I mean, it's known to be a spotted bass lake, but that's quite a change in the number of fish weighed in as far as spotted bass. Anthony Goggins, CJ Knight, currently taking over the Angler of the Year points by 5 points over Rob Lee, Steve Winslet. And your Alabama River winners move into third place. John Pollard, Tim Watkins, and Mark McKagan, Tim Hurst slide down to fourth place. So we also saw Tyler Malone, Cade Law. I think they were second place going into this tournament. They slid all the way down to ninth place. We've seen this lake right here has been a total game changer in years past, and it looked like it did the same. Realistically, looking at the numbers, it's traditionally taking 900 points to get to the Bass Team Championship. And looking at the points race now, I'm going to flip through some paper here just to kind of give you an idea. I had a lot of notes today. Sorry. 900 points to get to the Bass Team Championship. Currently ninth place, 782. Realistically, you're going to have to be inside that top 20 to really have a chance to make it to the top 9. And right now, the 20th place is Justin Mott and Randall Hamilton. So, and ironically, 21st place, Chris Rutland, Kobe Carden, 706 points. The only year in 11 years these guys have been outside the top 9. Tough fishing, tough conditions, tough field. I mean, granted, you look at the top 9, it's still a stacked field. I mean, CJ Knight, Anthony Goggins, Rob Lee, Steve Winslet, your reigning anglers of the year in the South. John Pollard, Tim Watkins, Mark McKeag, Tim Hurst, they have a win. John Pollard, Tim Watkins have a win. Noah and Cole Godwin, 2-time winners on the Alabama Bass Trail. Their goal this year, top 9. That was the goal. I mean, undeniably, that was their goal. That's what they're shooting for. Eric Summers, Robbie Pelt, 6th place. They have a win this year on the Alabama Bass Trail. Jeff Jennings, Mitchell Jennings, they're sitting in 7th. Eric Farnham, Cameron Gibbons sitting in 8th place. And then again, Tyler Malone, Cade Law sitting in 9th. Brian Adams and Ryan Lloyd just on the outside in 11th place. Jason Tomlin, Justin Foster, who you saw take 2nd place at the Alabama River. But more importantly, if you saw the Alabama Bass Trail Facebook page on Sunday, you saw that a gentleman made a comment about them helping him, he and them and the Bass Trail staff, helping them get their boat on the trailer after their motor blew up. That's the kind of people that we like hearing about on the Alabama Bass Trail. Really appreciate those guys taking time to help a fellow angler. To my knowledge, was not in our competition. I went through the list yesterday and I did not see that name. So then you've got John Kellett, Zeke Gossett, your reigning North Anglers of the Year. They're sitting in 12th. Lucas Lindsay, Brendan Holt, they were at the top of the AOY board. They're in 14th now. This is another team right here. I wanted to just point out Connor and Caleb Miller. I am not looking at the student Anglers of the Year right now. I'm looking at the overall Anglers of the Year. 16, 17, 18 years old, 17th place going into the final event at Eufaula. They are 43 points out of making the top 9. 43 points out of making the top 9. I'm pretty sure they're leading the student angler of the year points, but only 43 points out of making the top 9. We've never had a student team do that. We've never sent a student team to the Bass Team Championship. That's pretty incredible. Those kids have proven that they can catch them. And, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Just looking down the list, like I said, a lot of really good anglers. Chase Schroeder making their return to the Alabama Bass Trail. They're sitting inside that top 20. Wesley McKellar, Adam Currington, they've had 2 really good tournaments as of late. Gosh, there's just a lot of really good teams sitting there. But if you listen, that's 3 teams inside that top 9 with wins. So that means we'll go down at least to 78th place when we look at points. And then when you take Connor and Caleb, if they stay in the top 75 after Eufaula, which I can't see them falling out of the top 75, then they will go in the student division. So that means 4 at least that will go down to 79th place. And that's just as the results stand right now. So I wanted to point that out because that's pretty incredible if we send a student team to the Bass Team Championship. It's really a cool deal. Now, don't know anything about Ouachita in Monroe, Louisiana, but I'm sure we'll get to know a little bit about it once we get our team solidified to go to the Bass Team Championship. So, a lot of things going on, just a lot going on. I had hoped to have Ryan Adcock on the podcast this week. He had reached out to me and said he would be glad to come on and talk about, why they chose to self-report the 6 fish in the live well. But I was unable to connect with him to get him on this morning. So we're going to skip that part. If I hear from him before we end recording, I will go ahead and have him on. I know a lot of you would like to hear from him, as I would like for him to get a chance to tell his story. But right now we're going to take a short break, go and hear from a couple of our sponsors. And then when we come back, we're going to talk to John Pollard, fishing with a new partner this year. You familiarly see him, John Pollard, Dallas Weldon. Dallas took a year off to be with his daughter, who's a senior in high school. She's a softball player. Didn't want to miss any of those big dates, and I don't blame him. So Dallas partnered up with Tim Watkins, who I think he fishes the ABT 100s with as well. We're going to talk to John about winning on the home pond, probably a guy that we've interviewed more than anyone else about the Alabama River that didn't have a win there. So we're going to talk to John in just a little bit about their win on the Alabama River, how it went down, and why this one is so special to him. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back on the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Stay tuned.
I've worked at Jack's all over the South. You know, I just love to make good food.
Enjoy.
Will do.
For good people. Like our boneless wings.
They're back, y'all.
It all starts with our house-made sauces. We have this new kickin' bourbon.
A little southern heat for you.
And of course, our classic buffalo and sweet honey barbecue. We're cooking hearty, wholesome southern food that's meant to be shared.
You read my mind.
So come on back for our boneless wings in 3 bold flavors. I'm Austin Swain, and I'm all about the South.
Welcome back to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast. And as I promised, Mr. John Pollard, one half of the team that won on the Alabama River last weekend, 1878. And as I mentioned in the opening, they did not weigh a big fish. So pretty much all of their fish kind of look the same. John, welcome back to the podcast. You've been on here a couple of times with me already. So welcome back. And I just driving home Saturday night, a lot of things going through my mind. Of course, the cluster with the traffic was one of those. And I was trying to go through my mind to figure out how we could reconcile that next year. But one of the things that stuck out in my mind is how important this win was to you. And you fished almost every year with us. So it had to be one of those that you circle every year. It's a very important lake to you. Talk about that before we talk about how y'all got it done.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I get excited going to the river every year, but also dread it because, you know, typical ABT fashion, we usually have a big weather change there before those tournaments, so which can affect the river a lot. So going into the day, I thought we had a decent plan. And then that morning, nothing that I thought would work was working. Literally places that we caught good ones the day before. The current had picked up a little bit. It was a little more stained. We're just striking out every place pulled up to. Actually got to start where I wanted to, and didn't catch a thing off of it. Just a place that I thought we had a chance of catching a big bag first thing. So at 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'm sitting there doubting, you know, every decision I made. So we made a long run and changed things up. So it was sort of at that point, it was a shock to catch the bag we caught, really. I'm sitting there thinking of a way to scratch up, 12 or 13 pounds just to have a good showing. It was a tough day. And, the Lord just blessed us with some bites. So that even made it more exciting to go from really a very low around 9 o'clock in the morning to at 1 o'clock to have 18, 19 pounds in a live well. It's one I'll remember for a long time, but to get my second win on the trail is huge to me. I mean, it's so hard to do. Just so excited. Was excited for Tim's first tournament like that he's ever been a part of winning. So he was really excited and just really proud and really blessed. I mean, it was tough conditions. Like I said, I'm excited about the river, but the conditions changing like they were. I'm still on cloud 9 from winning it, really. I mean, like I said, go from that low to that high and within about a 3-hour span was pretty special, something I won't ever forget.
Cool. One of the things I think about the Alabama River and Smith Lake, like Smith Lake tends to be the nemesis in the north. We either have extremely low conditions or we're flooded out of the park. So I kind of think of those two in the same manner. They're totally different fisheries. But one of the things I noticed, I looked at the bait report this morning, compared it to 2023. One of the things that really stood out to me was the number of spotted bass we weighed in. Last year, we weighed in 651 bass. 190 of those were spotted bass. This year, we weighed in 703. 322 of those were spotted bass. I mean, you didn't have any largemouth in your bag. Is that correct?
I did not. I did not even really try to catch largemouth after the water came up. And matter of fact, that percentage is lower than I thought it would be. I thought there would even been more spots weighed in because that's, currents what they like. And usually if you can find them, if you can ever find them, they're usually ganged up in those conditions. And for me personally, which, I came up, my dad's a great spot fisherman, taught me how to fish Vacusa spots. And they're just way more dependable in those conditions for me. So me personally, when the conditions change, I didn't even try to catch a largemouth after Wednesday. Because of times down there with failure. I mean, it's kind of like with the conditions changing like they were, I wanted to go, for what I thought was the most dependable fish, where I thought if we could ever get on a few that we could catch them in one place because they gang up so good. But so hats off to the guys. I know the guys that came in second place, I talked to them behind the weigh-in stage. They had a nice bag of largemouth. I mean, but they said they generally caught them down one stretch. They found them. If you can find them, you can catch them usually. But for me personally, if I'm on fishery that's got Coosa spots in it, and there's conditions are changing, there's current, that's where that's what I'm gonna go at.
Okay. You talked a little bit about the area that you fished was an area that your uncle showed you many, many years ago. Talk about that area and how it set up for you.
Yeah, it's a funny story. We had a family gathering 20 some odd years ago, and the family's land backed up to the river, and we walked down to the river's edge, and he pointed at a bank and he said, "Have you ever fished that rock seam that runs out of that bank right there?" And I said, "Didn't know there was." I said, "Well, there's rocks up and down this river everywhere, And he said, "Well, if you can get on that rock seam on the right day when they're pulling water, you can catch a big bag of fish." And that was before we had side imaging and all that. And I idled up and down that bank, I don't know how many times, and I marked rocks, and I caught a few fish just fishing down through there. But when I got my first side image in 2007, the old 997 Hunter when it first came out, I made myself idle down that bank one day when I was down there. I thought about it, and I saw it. There's a rock seam that came out in the river, and it's off the bank a little bit, and it runs out there in 12, 15 foot of water or so. And so I marked it, fished it that day, and actually caught like one or two fish off of it. And over the years, I've hit it here and there. But in practice Friday, I thought about that, and I was fishing that area of the river, and I said, "Well, let's run over here. We're going to try this." And I picked up a 3/4 ounce spinnerbait and threw it out there and let it go to the bottom and slow rolled it over the top of the rock. As soon as it hit the rock, I caught a 3.5 pounder. And I said, "Well, that's interesting there." Didn't make another cast on it. Came back to it. We worked our way, fished all day. Came back to it about 3 o'clock, picked up a shaky head and threw it out there on it. And it didn't even get the bottom, and one had it. And it felt like a really good fish. And I mean, it took me forever to pull the bait away from the fish without hooking it. But still didn't know what I had there. Because we didn't start there. I mean, really and truly, I didn't know if I was even going to go to it, because it was around some other stuff I wanted to fish that we caught fish on as well Friday. And so I think the key to it Saturday was the fact that it was a little cleaner water and there was a little less current on it, and so it made it easier to fish. One thing, and but why that day they just kept loading up on that rock, but it was just like we'd have to give them time to reset, and once they reset, we would catch another couple off of them. I think we caught 13 fish off the rock and just steadily coiled our way up to what we had. But yeah, I don't know why they like it, but they obviously Saturday they like that rock and they like setting up on it.
You said you caught one with a spinnerbait earlier in the week. Did you use that at all on Saturday?
I did. I threw it a lot Saturday but when I pulled up there, when we got to it, I actually picked up a chatterbait and threw it there first. Trying we had one fish in a live well. And so the 3/4 ounce spinnerbait, I do catch big spots on that, but I get less bites on it. So I picked up a chatterbait, a little smaller bait, and I threw it out there, and I caught a 3.5 the first cast. Tim netted it for me, threw it in the live well. I turned around, threw back up there, and caught a 407. And so then I don't think I caught one on a spinnerbait there, but the current was a little less there. It's just, but not because of the flow, but just because of where it is in the river. It's just a little less current there.
Okay.
And that 3/4 ounce spinnerbait seems to work better for me. When they're in a really hard current area, I can let it flutter and do things. But in that situation, I didn't get bit there. And then we caught several dragon there as well.
Okay. So if you're going 12 to 15 feet underwater, what kind of line are you using?
I use I normally use 15-pound fluorocarbon,
Okay.
Seagar, and now for some reason I can't think of the name of the Seagar. It's the black label Seagar.
Mhm.
It's very expensive line, but for a chatterbait, I love it.
Okay.
The and then on the shaky head, we were both actually throwing. I was throwing a shaky head, he was throwing a Tokyo rig. We were actually throwing those on 20-pound fluorocarbon because we were having to pull them out of those rocks.
Mm-hmm. Was there a
And that's
color?
bad.
Was there a color that was better than the other?
I don't think so. I think it
Okay.
was just where they were because he was using a real dark colored uh bait on his Tokyo rig, like a dark green pumpkin, and I was throwing a totally different color on my shaky head.
What time do you think you had your limit that you weighed in?
I think we caught our last fish around 1:30, and we caught a few more that wouldn't help us. And like I said, we've got off of it several times and ran just a little ways to some other things, and then we'd go back to it. And we caught a few other fish in some other places, but they wouldn't help us. But the last call we made, I think, was around 1:30.
Well, I have to ask the question. You're fishing 12 to 15 feet. Did live scope play an issue, or forward facing sonar play any part in being able to catch those fish?
I wasn't looking at the fish obviously because they were tucked so hard to the rock, but I was using my forward facing sonar to look at what I was throwing at.
Okay.
So, but no, we didn't see a couple of times. I did see the fish come off of the rock to get my bait, but I wasn't what I would call scoping. I was using it to throw at a target though.
Okay. Okay. I noticed, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this out. I noticed you got your Faulkner bass fishing shirt on. I know you're traveling or in Texas to be with them. I want to talk a little bit about that. The amount of high school and college kids that are emerging in some of these top tour events. I just mentioned a couple of kids that are in 17th place in the Angler of the Year, both of them high school students. Connor Miller, Caleb Miller, currently sitting, I wanted to say 17th. Oh, they wouldn't be on that list because that's the North list. Let me look right here. 17th, Connor Miller, Caleb Miller, both high school students sitting in 17th place in the overall Angler of the Year. That's a testament. We saw Cade Krausen and his brother have a top, 5 finish over at Lake Jordan. Why is it so important to you to be involved with the college fishing team? Because I know it can't have a lot of financial benefit to you. So why is it so important? Because you've been involved with those guys a long time.
Yeah. I just obviously enjoy being around fishing, enjoy being around these young anglers. It's just something that I enjoy the families, I enjoy meeting them, and I enjoy helping them and getting them through school. It's so important the possibilities and the doors that bass fishing is opening for college students. I mean, to get for high school students to get a chance at going and getting a college degree, getting scholarships, and I enjoy being around them, and heck, I learn from them too. It's amazing because of technology, because of the internet, because of how open a lot of these guys are with information. It's amazing how good they are at such a young age and how much they know. And a lot of guys, in high school ranks, they want to be all of them, of course, or most of them, just like a high school football player, baseball player, anything. They want to be pro. I want to be a pro. And it's so important for these guys to go get an education if they really want to do that, to be able to learn how to sell their self, and because it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I enjoy working with them. I enjoy trying to give them advice more than just on fishing, but on in life, and of how hard it is to make it financially in this sport. I tell these guys all the time that the best year I ever had financially fishing was 2005. That year I earned a little over $45,000 in tournament winnings. I spent $33,000. I'm like, guys, you can't live on that,
Mm-hmm.
and you got a family at home, you especially can't live on that. And I didn't know how to go out and sell myself to get the sponsors that I needed. So when I got, I qualified for the Elite Series the first year they had it. I didn't have $55,000 to go out and get entry fees, and I didn't know anything. I didn't even think about the whole year I'm fishing, to be out trying to sell myself in case I did make it, to be able to afford something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to me to talk to them, to get the education of learning how to get up in front of people and talk and go to people cold and sell themselves. And it's a cutthroat business. And I've been there to a point where obviously I haven't ever fished full-time professionally, but I've been there to a point to see financially and know plenty of guys who've done it financially, to know how important it is to get that education and to have something to fall back on if it didn't work out. Because let's face it, for most people, it's not going to work out. There's a lot of people that go bankrupt trying to be professional fishermen.
They say if you want to be a millionaire bass fisherman, start with 2 million. So that's kind of how it is.
Right.
I mentioned on closing the TV show and that you've been a very loyal supporter of the Alabama Bass Trail. Not always agreed with everything. Let's point that out. A 1 pound dead fish penalty at Jordan cost you an Angler of the Year that year. Not always been as supportive of some of the things, but you've always been very loyal to the Alabama Bass Trail. You've always been very I won't say outspoken, but you've been very quick to come to me and talk to me about things, but you've also been very quick to praise our team and the things that we've tried to do in bass fishing. And I certainly appreciate that. Loyalty to the Alabama Bass Trail is so important to me. I mean, it gives me and our team a vote of confidence that we're doing things the right way. And I said that about you. You're one of those teams. I don't hear from you a whole lot. But I never hear anything negative about you either. Like I said this about Josh and Paul Davis. One of those teams that does things the right way. You just kind of go about your business. You'll say, hey, it's tough fishing, or hey, it's this, but you just kind of go about your business and do the things the right way. Never hear any controversy around you. And those are, it's easy to cheer for y'all when you're doing things the right way. And I want to, commend you on that. A lot of negativity going on in the fishing industry. And it's always good when I get to interview people on Monday that have won a tournament and did it the right way. I know you've been Angler of the Year before. You fished a long time with Dallas Weldon. I talked a little bit about him taking some time off to be with his daughter as a senior in high school, watching her softball games and things like that. 100% family is very important. You've been Angler of the Year before. Let's talk about Angler of the Year. Currently sitting, I think, in third place. Heading into a lake that in the past 3 years hasn't been nice to you. 2023, you had an 80th place finish, 2022, 66, 2021, 176. Let me pull the list out here. You are sitting in third place, roughly 43 points out. What does you follow look like? What's that week going to look like for John Pollard and Tim Watkins?
That week will look like a lot of idling and looking, because I imagine an offshore event. That's where we will be focused. So I'll burn a lot of gas and have a lot of screen time that week, trying to find some offshore places to fish. And there's been some things, that have happened in the last 3 years. I think maybe 2 years ago, the year we finished in 70-something place, we had to fish that day we should have finished like in around 20th place and made the top 9 that year. Had just a bad deal, had 2 fish die on us that day. So we had the 1 pound penalty, then had to throw another fish out. So, and that was in June. That was last term of the year. So, I feel like that day we had, a pretty good plan. I'm hoping that some of those places are going to work out for us. We didn't get the bites that Saturday that we had gotten in practice, but the fish were there. We could see them, on our active target. So hoping that maybe we can put together something, similar to that. But it's going to look like a lot of idling and looking for me basically that week. And we'll see how it shakes out. There's so many points separating us and the hammers that they're still ahead of us. My goal's never AOY. I would love to win another one. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna do everything I can to have the best finish we can possibly have there. But my goal every year in this thing is to try to finish in the top 9. If you can finish in the top 9 in the north or the south against these guys, I mean, it's a great year. And we're a long way away from those guys, and then we got a bunch of hammers that are stacked up, 1, 2, 3 points behind us. So we all got to catch them, and we'll see where it shakes out.
Well, one thing I did notice in 2018, when you won Angler of the Year, you finished 13th at Eufaula. 2019, the year that sticks out to me the most, one, because it was June 15th, and that's when we're going to be there this year. It is a year that we had 24 bags over 20 pounds. Never done that since at Eufaula. You finished 18th that year. So I think a 13 to 18th place finish certainly gets you in the top 9. Not sure if it'll get you in the AOI spot, but I think it certainly gets you in the top 9, and it speaks well for you there. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about college fishing. I know it's big, big part of what you do outside of actually fishing yourself. I know you represent Faulkner. Is there anything that you want to talk about the Faulkner Bass Fishing Program that, if young kids are listening to the podcast or parents are listening to the podcast, you'd let them know about Faulkner?
Sure. Well, we're a growing program, and we do a lot for athletes. We're 100% under the athletic department, so they get all the benefits that all the other athletes get on campus. They get free tutoring, they get counseling, they can even go see athletic trainers. They get clothing packages every year. 100% pay for the tournaments that we fish that are sanctioned by the school. They get a scholarship. Most of my guys on scholarship are getting between $13,000 and $18,000 a year. The difference in that depends on your grades. We've only got 5 boats this year. We've worked our way up to rank 59th in the country for our program growing. That's a really good deal. We're hoping maybe we can close out here at Sam Rayburn and finish in the top 50. We've got 9 freshmen coming in next year. We've got 9 signed coming in, and I'm looking to sign 9 more in next year's class, 9 or 10 more. And what we're wanting to do is build the program up to around 30 anglers. We don't want to get bigger than that because we want the guys, the benefits of them not to be spread out, so much between so many guys. We want everybody to fish. You come here, you can fish day one. So yeah, if you're interested in Faulkner, please shoot me an email, jpollard@faulkner.edu, and send me your bass fishing resume, send me your GPA. If you've taken your SAT, send that to me, and we'd love to take a look at you and get you on campus to check us out.
That's awesome. Well, I love watching the college bass fishing and what the state of Alabama has been able to assemble between the University of Montevallo, between Faulkner, Auburn, Alabama, the number of people that they have sent to these, to the Red Crest, to the Bass Master Classic and different events. It's been really cool to watch, and I appreciate you guys out there telling the college bass fishing story. We've got a number of those guys that are fishing with us now. And then, with Zeke Gossett and then Ethan King, and some of those guys have gone through the college bass fishing, now fishing with us. And I'm sure, and I know some of these guys, Wesley Gore went through that. We've got a lot of guys that are true hammers that came through some of these colleges in the state of Alabama and are doing really well. John, congrats again on your second win on the Alabama Bass Trail, the top 3 in the points right now. That's a lot to be said, but I know the job's not done, and hopefully you'll close it out June the 15th down at Lake Eufaula. I sure appreciate you taking time with me today.
Thank you very much. I just want to throw in real quick that Tim would have loved to be on the podcast too. He's got a great business up in Pelham and Pell City called On Demand Healthcare. He stays really busy. If you guys need any medical treatment up that way, he does everything from hormone treatment to your normal family care. Give him a shout.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I enjoyed getting to meet him and over a couple of times, but got a little bit more chance to hear from him and talk to him on Saturday, and really nice guy. I look forward to having him on the trail for a long time. You have a great day, and go Faulkner.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Go Eagles.
All right.
Research and development is more than just time in the shop for us. It's time out here. Sweating the details. Making boats that work as well in the real world as they do on paper. From our R&D team to our anglers on the water, we have the knowledge and passion to build you the finest fishing platform in the world.
Welcome back, and thanks again to John Pollard for joining me in the earlier segment. But now we have the dude, the voice of the Alabama Bass Trail, the fashionista, with his Hawaiian flowery shirts that he wears up on stage. A little breathable. That Magellan Pro stuff, a lot more breathable than that shirt you started off the morning with.
Listen, it is it's become my thing the last two tournaments, and I just want to say for the record, for anybody that's paying attention at home, I'm not a Hawaiian shirt guy. I'm not there in life, but Academy, theirs are a little different. It's not the typical. When we were at Wheeler, we went on a little lunch break, and me and Darian and Jason went in, and they had one that had redfish on it, but it looked like a Hawaiian shirt but had redfish. And I'm like, I'm wearing that on stage today. I never thought you'd let me, to be fair, but like you've said, you've lost control of the crazy train here. And I wore it. I loved it. And then, and even Marissa said when I got it, she goes, I actually kind of like that shirt.
Yeah.
And she was giving me crap about it during weigh-in.
Yeah.
I had a ton of missed texts from her. So anyways, we're down there, same thing. Me, Darian, and Marissa, we go to lunch at the Alabama River there in Prattville. We go to Academy, and there's the one with the peaches on it. It had the little state of Alabama too. And I'm like, that one's perfect. So we pulled it off again. So I gotta keep this thing going.
Well, that Prattville Clanton area, famous for its peaches, the famous peach park, the big peach that's up on the tower there, the water tower. So you fit right in with the Prattville Clanton group, and great clothing. I know I got you guys some Magellan Pro shirts there at Academy last week. They feel great, very comfortable. Darian had one on, Jason had one on. Really cool stuff from Academy. So, dude, I gotta quit going in there. I got some cute shorts too that's got an Alabama on them. I haven't worn them yet, mainly because I don't know the right shirt to wear with them. So I don't have the fashion forward mindset that you do, Luke. I'm gonna have to
for sure. Really... I'm trend setting out here.
You're something out here.
Well, the Academy, not to just give too many shameless sponsor plugs, but I've been an Academy fan. One was built just south of Nashville years and years and years ago when I was in high school. It's always been one of my favorite stores, and now they've popped up. There's so many, but their brand, that Magellan brand, and look, I've had clothing sponsors over the years, Three Fish and different things. That brand, for the money, for what you get, blows my mind. All their private label stuff, like I've got hoodies, I've got pants, so many different things. And the Magellan Pro Series, like I really have enjoyed wearing those shirts, and they're stylish. Ladies and gentlemen, those Hawaiian shirts, you're going to be in style when you show up somewhere. So
they had a couple golf shirts. We have a golf team that always participates in the Amherst tournament. And they had all the sizes. They were to come home with me last week too, because they were kind of cute and a little bit different from what we've worn in the past. So, I don't know how Mark McKegg's going to look in that, but,
Hey, Mark McKegg there were several anglers on stage. I'll give them props that complimented the peach shirt, but McKegg just stopped the weigh-in. He wanted to know all the details, where I got it. He said he was headed to the beach here soon and he needed that. And I think Mark McKegg needs a peach shirt.
You think he needs a peach shirt? Okay. I'll commit that to memory.
You see one in his size, you get him a peach shirt.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna do that. Let's talk a little bit about the Alabama River spotted bass. We kind of talked off camera. 190 spotted bass weighed in 2023. This year, 322 spotted bass, very related to the current that we saw. Again, water conditions, dadgum. I mean, water conditions constantly changing down there. But all in all, I mean, it still took 10:58 to get a check, a little bit less than what I thought, it'd take to win. I thought it'd take about 19 and a half. Just because the last time we had high water, Brian and Wesley were able to really, get that 20-pound limit early and come back, but didn't play out like I thought it was going to.
Well, I think that had it been a little more stable, you know what I mean, for a few days.
Been there a little bit longer.
Seen a bigger bag, but it was changing. I mean, talking to the guys when we were on the water doing live, talking to them on stage, I mean, they were throwing a curveball. It was from Thursday to Saturday was totally different conditions, and no surprise, though, on the spotted bass. I kept saying that when we were doing live. I'm a river rat. I love current. When I see that much of it, I was fiending all day long. Now that doesn't make it easy
Mm-hmm.
by any means. I saw a lot of guys struggling out there on the river, but just like we saw with John and Tim, though, when you found the right little eddy, right little rock vein, they were stacked up on it, and that's what took home the trophy.
Yeah, what was really exciting that morning, we got to see Anthony Goggins, CJ Knight really get in that shad spawn. They had a 3.5 pounder and then had a 4 pounder just within 10 casts of each other, I think. That was really cool to see that shad spawn. But dude, it lasted like 10, 15 minutes and dude, it was gone. It was gone. So a lot of guys were not finished running. That was boat number 4 left out of there. And a lot of guys weren't finished running. They had 7 pounds in the boat, but it was over
really
just
was
as quick as
over.
it started.
Yeah, and normally I feel like we always talk about early boat number and the shad spawn events and all that being a benefit, but still, I've seen it linger a couple hours sometimes in the morning. But it felt like Saturday it died fast, man. And I was still calling boats. I can hear you guys in the production going on as I'm calling boat numbers and struggling with names as usual. And I heard Darian say, "Hey, I don't know if you can hear me, Luke Dunkin, but I just saw a 3 pounder get caught on a frog," as I was still calling boat numbers. So I mean, it was happening quick.
Well, for people who didn't watch live, we saw flooded lily pads. I don't know that I've ever seen that.
Wow.
It was wild. The water at the Alabama River is always, I think, going to be the story. It was the story when the Bassmaster Elites were there, when they were catching those big, fat 5-pound spots. So it's always going to be the story when you go there. But this week, the story was John Pollard, Tim Watkins, 1878. They did not weigh a big. They didn't have a fish in there that they thought would go over 524. So interesting tournament. The one that I said would shake the standings up, dude. And a couple people I wanted to point out to you. CJ Knight, Anthony Goggins currently leading, got a small lead over second place, 5 points. Then you get down to third place, and it's a 43-point lead over third place.
You follow.
You follow.
That's significant. That's significant with one tournament to go.
Yeah, especially with Anthony Goggins, CJ Knight, the role that they're having, the year that they're having, the familiarity they have with Lake Eufaula. Second place team, Rob Lee, Steve Winslet, struggled on Eufaula. It cost him the Angler of the Year 2 years ago. It's not been great to them. John Pollard, Tim Watkins, I mentioned this to John when I had him on the podcast. Last 3 years, dude, that lake has crushed them. They've had an 80th place, a 66th place, and 176. So I'm not sure, are excited about Eufaula being the end of the year tournament. But just looking down the list, I mean, 9th place, 782 points. Traditionally, it's taken about 900 points to get into the Bass Team Championship. So realistically, anybody down to 20th place, I think, could make it there. The team that sticks out to me that I'm going to be watching, and they are going to have a camera, got to have a camera on them. 17th place, Connor Miller, Caleb Miller, two high school kids sitting in 17th place in the overall Angler of the Year. We've never sent a high school team to the Bass Team Championship.
Listen, and those young men, I love having them on stage. Their families there supporting them. They hang around for the entire weigh-ins. They're out there, even if they're not going to get a big trophy, they're hanging around out there. I've seen them at every event this year. Supportive system, and they are pros on the water and off. It's scary how good these kids, quote kids, they're wise beyond their years are, and how cool would it be to see them in the year going to that Bass Team Championship and finishing the top 10 in the Angler of the Year in the ABT South. It's nothing to sneeze at.
First year on the trail. I know their dad has talked to me several times about signing them up, and I just told him, I said, when you think they're ready, but talk to them about the level of competition out here. It's not easy. It's going to require a lot of work. And I think him, spending some time doing that, and them not jumping in right when they thought they wanted to, was probably the right thing for them to do. So props to them. And I can't wait to watch them at Eufaula. I almost think, okay, you got to have somebody chasing Shane Powell, Tim Fox, of course.
For sure.
You're going to want to chase Anthony Goggins and CJ Knight, but I just believe we got to have somebody out there following Caleb and Connor too, because it's going to be a long day. I think in June down on Eufaula. I think you're going to be an offshore kind of thing, and it'd be interesting. I have to take a look and see what their boat numbers are going to be. That'd be fun.
Well, there was just the invitationals down there, Tiger Warehouse Invitational. It was all offshore primarily already. Big schools of fish. Jake Lawrence one doing that. So a month from now, we're just going to be further into that.
Right.
The only difference is those fish will have been beat on a little bit. They probably ran into some fresh schools there in that event. So boat number is going to be important. Like you just said, boat number plays in those offshore tournaments. Are you going to get on the right brush piles that you want to get on? Are you going to get on that right ledge, that right little stretch that can take Angler of the Year home, maybe win you the tournament as well? We're talking a big swing in those points, like you said, at 43 points, but in a field, we're going to have 200 plus boats down there. You can make that up. I mean, you can make that up. Sometimes it takes some good fortune, some people slipping, but 43 points is not impossible with a field the size we have.
Yeah, I know Noah and Cole Godwin had a good tournament down there the year Brian Stifler, Wesley Gore won Angler of the Year. That was the year that Steve Winslet and Rob Lee kind of stumbled a little bit on that lake. Something else that stood out to me, and I guess I didn't realize it until today. 21st place, Chris Rutland, Kobe Carden. First time ever in Alabama Bass Trail history, they're outside the top 9. I mean, that's when something speaks to me, that speaks to me.
Well, and it was them, this week at the Alabama River, 8 pounds, subpar for them by their standards. I mean, and by the overall tournament average, it wasn't a good day for them.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Mark McKegg, Tim Hurst, like 2 teams you just expect. High water, Alabama River, they're going to catch them, and they didn't. And it was really, like you said, it's that great equalizer event. It really threw the standings for a loop. And Kobe and Chris, it wouldn't surprise me if they win Eufaula, though. You know what I mean? Like
they won it last year, so
yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all. Their year is so that they're having in 21st. A lot of people would would give anything to be 21st in the standing, right? But for them, that's just off the mark for what they're used to. And so, wouldn't surprise me. I would fear those guys at Eufaula if I had to fish against them. They're going to be dialed in down there.
Me too. I want to talk to you a little bit about Neely Henry before we'll talk points before we actually get into the tournament. Another thing that sticks out to me points-wise, Fisher and Ryan and I, they have an 11-point lead over second place, Justin Bussey and Ben Webb. That is the first time a father-son team, a high school team, has led Angler of the Year points in the Alabama Bass Trail ever in its history. 11 points going into Neely Henry. What did they have to do to stay there?
Well, obviously, just keep standing on the gas, and it looks like at this point, anywhere Fisher goes, he's just dragging Ryan around, right? Like Ryan. I think Ryan,
and I think Ryan's fine with it. Yeah.
I got to give Ryan a hard time. I think Ryan, he's just holding Fisher back a little bit. Fisher just fished by himself. He'd probably have an even bigger lead. The kid's on fire everywhere he goes. I mean, we just saw that at Chickamauga. He finishes in the top 5 in the Toyota series, that division in particular, which was one of the toughest divisions in fishing, against a ton of elite pros, tour level fishermen and amazing regional anglers. And he finishes top 5 in 3 tournaments on 3 venues, Guntersville, Smith, Chickamauga, that are super competitive fisheries. He is on a roll. It's hard to even call him a high school kid, even though he is. It is so hard because he's seasoned. He spends so much time on the water. But Neely, it's like the Alabama River in a sense for me, though. It is that great equalizer. It can throw things for a loop. We've seen that year after year after year. Conditions on Neely Henry can be crazy sometimes. It fishes small. I was actually talking to Gerald Swindle earlier today about Fisher and Ryan and how he had roomed with Fisher at Chickamauga and how committed Fisher is to live scope and fishing offshore everywhere he goes. Yep. He's so committed to it. And if Fisher has holes in his game, self-admitted, it's up shallow.
Yeah.
He's not as confident. Now, Ryan likes to fish that way. He grew up fishing like that with Gerald in team events. So I think that kind of balances it out. Neely will be interesting for them, though. I think that if they catch them there, I think they're very hard to beat at Guntersville for Angler of the Year. I think if they keep the lead going into Guntersville, no offense to any other team, Fisher's got a lot of man hours on Guntersville in the summer the last few years. I think if they hold that lead headed into there, they're trouble.
I agree with you. I'm looking down the list at 9th place. 9th place is 82 points behind first place. And again, I'm looking because there is such a gap from ninth to first place. I'm narrowing it down to, I think, Adam Bain, Chris Colley in 16th place. I think you got to be in 16th place if you're going to try to make it into that Bass Team Championship.
Mhm.
And just looking at the points, the way it's structured right now, 840 in the South, 851. Wait, that's wrong. 651. 651 in the North. No way a team comes back and takes the overall angler of the year. Well, I don't know. That we still got a team. We got one more tournament left. So maybe that's the difference. Okay. All right. I'm gonna take back what I said.
Yeah, they're one.
Traditionally,
they're one
South
tournament
is,
ahead.
I think we're
Yeah.
6-4. South versus North on overall angler of the year. So we'll see how that shakes out. Heck of a year by CJ Knight and Anthony Goggins. But also equally upstanding year for Fisher and Ryan. So that's going to be fun. But it all does. I mean, this week you're going to be out. Darian's going to take over the stage.
Unfortunately.
So we'll have Matt Lee joining us on live. You'll be doing your duties at the MPFL. Where are y'all going with the MPFL?
I'm going to Wisconsin to the studio, so I'm going to be missing Gaston, Alabama. No offense to my Wisconsin people, but it's a long way from Tennessee. We're at Hartwell, though.
Okay.
Oh, good old Neil Paul and Lake Hartwell over there at Green Pond. And I heard from a couple anglers this morning. They're catching them. I don't know if it's going to be like Lake Murray. The footage has been insane.
Yeah.
This week, the topwater blowups, that's similar things going on Hartwell from the guys I'm talking to. So we could have a fun week on live. And I'll be missing my Alabama Bass Trail family, though. I love my buddy Fat Cat, but I will be missing the crew and all the anglers in the ABT North.
We got to get Fat Cat to come down to an ABT event. He'd love it. He'd love it.
We'd have fun with Fat Cat for sure.
All of our shenanigans. That'd be fun.
For sure.
Neely Henry, looking at the forecast, a lot of rain going to be coming in this week, looking somewhere between 1 and 3 inches of rain falling. I know North Alabama's a 1/2 inch to 1 inch, a little bit more south of us. Going to cause a lot of current between those bridges. I look for us to do blast off from the dock. But let's talk about teams that you've got your eyes on and that you expect to be atop that leaderboard, that Pro Guide Batteries leaderboard at the end of Saturday.
So first team, John Kellett, Zeke Gossett, 2023 ABT North Angler of the Years. They've really kind of had a topsy-turvy year for the most part. I mean, the events we really expected them to do well in, even though, Zeke started the year with Ethan, the ABT 100, almost won the dang thing down there. But Zeke, they're on a roll right now. They finished 11th at the Alabama River. Zeke just had a top 10th Bassmaster Open at Logan Martin. And Zeke had he smiled big on stage Saturday and said, well, we're at Neely Henry next. Because he made a joke. He said, I don't even know what river this is. Is this the Coosa? Is it the Tallapoosa? Is it Alabama? I said, son, you're on the Alabama River. And if you said that after beating me in a tournament, I would want to beat you up in the parking lot. So I told him on stage, like, you don't even know where you're at. You just caught 14 pounds. Give me a break. But I think they're going to be a team to watch. Mark McKeag, Tim Hurst. I'm like a broken record in every event we have. But again, they had a bad one, the Alabama River. They win a lot on Neely Henry. If there's one place I fear those two, besides Logan Martin, it is indeed Neely. I think you got to look for them there to try to knock out another win. Adam Brown, Greg Diggs, numbers don't lie. And when you look through the standings, whether it's the ABT 100, I fished with Little Trey a couple years ago. Adam and Jay Keaton won that thing. You look through the standings, and they're always going to be around. So I think you got to pick them. I'm going to go Damian Willis, Tyler Kiker also, because historically, you and I talked a little bit off camera, it has been their Achilles heel. They were right outside the top 10 last year. They're on a roll this year as well. We're putting a lot of talk on Fisher and Ryan and some of these other teams, but Damian and Tyler are in third place in the Angler of the Year race, and they're catching them everywhere we go. They had a couple bad breaks at Wheeler, or they potentially win that event. I mean, they lost some good fish on live, and they just put on a clinic there. And then fifth and final, it's hard for me to pick against that. We just talked about it. This is a tricky tournament. I don't know how they'll attack it, but Fisher and Ryan, I can't. They haven't got to win. It's going to happen at some point. We keep talking about points. They're going to win one of these. Will it be this one? Will it be Guntersville? But I mean, they're going to be in the hunt at some point to win one. And Fisher's been so close in so many solo events from BFLs to Toyotas this year. Like, they're going to do it. It's going to happen. Will it be this week? We'll see.
One thing I want to point out about Fisher and Ryan, people that don't realize he fished a Toyota Series event on Guntersville, barely made it to the meeting at Pickwick, and caught 19 pounds or something. Like,
no
something
practice.
stupid. No practice.
No practice. And then in a BFL a month later catches 26 pounds on a day where the wind blows 30th and finishes second.
Yeah.
Catches 26 pounds and gets beat, which is insane to even think about. The kid's he's firing on all cylinders. His dad is a fantastic fisherman. They're gonna win. Like, just remember, like, will it be here? Will it be at our championship this year? I don't know. They're going to win a big event at some point. You can't be that close and not do it.
I remember the night Gerald, Leanne, and I came down to watch you perform, watch you sing at a little sports bar in Huntsville on South Memorial Parkway or North Memorial
Sports
Parkway.
Page.
Sports Page. That's where it was.
Yeah.
I remember going home and Gerald was driving, and he mentioned to me that Ryan Anaya was one of the best fishermen he's ever been in the boat with.
Mm-hmm.
And he said
Sure.
he just got married, had kids. You know, that was what he needed to do at the time. He just didn't go pro. But Gerald said that night, and that's been maybe the first year of the Alabama Bass Trail ever. And he said, you know, by far, Ryan and I is one of the best fishermen I've ever been in the boat with. So, you know, it is time spent on the water. You know, we say this about Noah and Cole Godwin. Every time you look at Facebook, they've won a tournament. They're on the water. Time spent on the water. There's nothing that replaces that. No electronics, no gear, no rods, no lures. Time on the water, experimenting with different things and different tactics and looking at your graphs and learning that stuff. So time on the water, and he has certainly done that. So, all right, well, let me hear your dark horse.
I'm going Stephen McAvoy, Josh Butts. Does Josh Butts pull him through with the wedding magic? He's on his honeymoon right now. Miss Lauren Butts now. Congrats to them, but he loves him some Neely Henry too. So it's not just the wedding magic. Josh is liable to show up and shallow crank him and Stephen up to a win. So wouldn't surprise me there at all.
I like that dark horse. I couldn't decide on a dark horse this week. I pulled 3 out. One of them is going to really surprise you, who I picked as a dark horse. But Adam Brown, Greg Diggs. I don't think you pick against those guys on the Coosa River this time of the year. Just don't think you pick against those guys. Another team I have, I just can't pick against them, and I'm going to pick for them when we get to Weiss in June. Bradley Jones, Brooks Goza, a lot of good tournaments from him. He's got a win on Neely before. I like that pick. Another team that just kind of flies under the radar. You see them every now and again, but the Coosa River, Neely Henry, and Weiss Lake, really good to them. Brett Harrell, Tyler Smart. I like them. I too picked Damian Willis, Tyler Kiker. Those guys between them, the amount of time they have on Neely Henry. Yeah. And Damien's kind of one of them sneaky guys. Like, he ain't going to fish on necessarily Thursday, Friday. He might fish on Friday, but he's going to be there like Tuesday when nobody else is there. So he's kind of a sneaky guy. But I do have them in my top 5. I do have John Kellett, Zeke Gossett, just because I do feel like that team has been on a roll. It's got a little bit of a kind of a mid-lull start, but they've been competitive in the North and the South. They fish with different partners in the 100. But if you can fish the North and South and be that competitive and be, you know, let's see here, they're 10th in the North Angler of the Year points. They're not far. They're 12th in the South. I mean,
Think about that. Like that's incredible. And again, like you said about some of these young anglers, time on the water. There's not a Saturday goes by that they're not fishing a tournament somewhere. Like, that's what they do. That's why they're so consistent. It's incredible.
I agree with you. And I talked to John Pollard about that a little bit on, you know, he works with the Faulkner University team, and talked with him about his, influence there and why he'd be involved in that. My dark horse is Fisher and Ryan Anaya. I picked them as a dark horse just because, I think the year that we had the February tournament, I think maybe Ryan zeroed that tournament. I'd have to go back and look at it. I know the ABT 100 when Gerald was fishing. I think the Sabine, maybe they were in Orange, Texas, and he had to fish solo. I think he may have, went home and zeroed there.
He did because we were very competitive, Trey and I, with
Yeah.
Gerald and Ryan that year, and we gave him a lot of crap over that because we top 10'd it, no big deal. And we sent Ryan home. He was very upset.
So I do remember
that.
I don't think that I just don't think that Fisher's going to allow that to happen. I don't think Ryan will now that Angler of the Year is like really there. It's a double-edged sword. I don't really think they want a camera on Guntersville, but you be in that top 9, you're going to have a camera. So one of my picks, and this is a real dark horse for this event. They've done well here, but they don't have a win on the Alabama Bass Trail. That's Brian Johnson, Brandon Gross from Tennessee. They had a 7-pounder last year when we were, I believe, at Neely Henry. I believe that's where they had it. And then we had an 829 come in with Benji and Jonathan Seaborn. So they had a really nice fish last year. They always are in kind of that mix, but just haven't been able to put it all together. So I have them. And then Mark McKeag, Tim Hurst. They just have not caught them good in the Alabama Bass Trail at Neely Henry. They catch them good any other time at Neely Henry. And I think probably Lake Martin and Neely Henry are the two that you see them win so much money on. They rarely fish Logan unless it is an Alabama Bass Trail event. But I think it's just they're due for a really good finish on Neely Henry. I just can't imagine.
North, right? Yeah. Like I'm wanting them to pull one out in the north.
Yeah,
for sure this year.
Well, you got to know they're looking forward to going to Weiss for the 100. I'm not sure how they feel about Guntersville in June, but I think
Guntersville in June, I think everybody's excited, but everybody knows the deal too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be crowded. Boat number is going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to take a lot of weight. Check weight's going to be great, but I think everybody's excited but cautiously optimistic when it comes to Guntersville always.
I'm going to give you that too. I'm looking at the points right now. They are 13 points from 9th place. Like they're only 13 points ahead of 9th place in the South. So they got to catch them at Eufaula to stay in that top 9. Here, little more spread out right now. They are, well, maybe I don't even see them in the first 20. We'll just act like I didn't say that. We'll just act like I didn't even point out that I don't see them in the top 20. I will certainly hear about that in the group text. But I have them as my dark horse because they have not traditionally caught them at the ABT. Mark had a really big Toyota win there a couple years ago, got a big $35,000 Phoenix bonus check there. So he has caught them. And he won a BFL there last year when we fished Wheeler in June.
That's
so
right.
He can catch them there. Can he catch them with 225 boats? And I don't have a clue what his boat number will be because they have boat numbers in the 100, the north, the south, and I can't keep up with them. So I don't know what his boat number will be. But
well, I'm not allowed to give any insider information or help to any of our anglers. But if Mark wants to pull out the win, him and Tim need to both go to Academy and get them all these Hawaiian shirts. They show up wearing that. It's a lot.
It's a lot. They would probably have everyone so confused that they wouldn't be able to concentrate on fishing. I can tell you, I can see Mark doing that. Tim Hurst, absolutely zero way. I see Tim Hurst won't have it. I just do not see that.
Not happening.
No more than I see them decorating their boat Hawaiian flowery. I don't see that. Like I said, I can almost see Mark doing it. Not at all do I see Tim doing it. Not at all. Not at all. Anything else going on in the fishing world that just other than Lake Murray and the live and the weights and the everything going on out there?
It's been a lot of fun. I have not got to watch live. We've been live. I've been running around crazy busy, but the clips I see them pop up on social, and it's been absolutely fantastic to see. And I'll tell you something going on in the fishing world that doesn't get talked about near enough, in my opinion. I've said this on my show multiple times. Patrick Walters is one of the greatest bass fishermen to ever live, period. And he's a kid. He's a kid. When the dust settles one of these days, he will be in that conversation with some of the greats in the sport that you get talked about for the Mount Rushmore of bass fishing.
Mm-hmm.
That young man is absolutely a freak of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Period. End of story. He's won multiple MPFLs, and my favorite thing, people are like, "Oh, he's over there taking those MPFL guys' money." I'm like, you better go look at the standings in those elite series, because since coming on the scene, I don't think he's had a finish in the Angler of the Year race lower than 15th, and that was his first year, I believe. And then he's been in the top 10, top 5 the rest of the seasons that he's fished. Fixing to get another win today at Murray on the elites. He's won the Opens. He's won in college. He's won on the FLW side in college, won their national championship. Patrick Walters, they put some respect on his name, folks. Not that I think people disrespect Patrick Walters, but drives me crazy. Like he's a freak. Like I've spent a lot of time over his shoulder in those MPFLs, and it's something. He's special.
Well, I think he falls in line with that person like a Wesley Gore who just kind of goes and does his business. He's not
That's
Gerald.
right.
He's not filming 25 different videos throughout the week. Not to throw off on Gerald, because people love that. You can go and look at the likes and follows and
Yeah.
comments that Gerald gets. People love that. That's just not who Patrick is. And I think he just kind of goes about his business and lets his fishing do the talking. And I really think that that's the people that a lot of people just are like, oh man, what are you talking about him? You never hear from him, blah, blah, blah. Well,
That's
if you
right.
look, you may not hear from him, but if you look, he's in black and white. So
Well, the funny thing is about Patrick, and I've told him this multiple times, he has one of the biggest personalities in the sport also. He just doesn't really, like you said, he kind of handles business. This morning on live, I saw a clip. He called it a big one, and he got out a mustache comb and literally combed his mustache. Like
I love that.
Like he does silly stuff all the time on MPFL Live. This year, though, he's got Tanner Lyons, a good friend of mine, traveling with him, documenting his year on the Elite Series. His social media stuff's been fantastic this year, and documenting, kind of like Brandon Polnick has, but documenting every single day of the season, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we had a really good time down at the Alabama River. Live was a little tough. That cell phone service. Hey, I'm going to have to call Governor Ivey and see where we are on the statewide broadband initiative and say, hey, we need to concentrate right down in this area, because, dude, it was tough. I mean, you were very limited on the cell phone service that you could have down there. So Neely Henry should be a lot more wide open. Going to be a lot of fun to chase some of these guys and see how they do first thing in the morning. Will it be a shad spawn? Is it going to be all current based? It'll be fun.
Yeah, yes, and
fun.
Yes.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah.
Dude,
yes,
I get
yes,
it.
And yes.
I get
Will
it.
Darian butcher the same names I butcher? Probably.
Along with a
Maybe
couple
even
others.
more.
Yeah, maybe with a
Probably
couple
with some
others.
new ones.
Will he bring out a Hawaiian shirt? No.
No chance.
No chance. No chance.
No chance.
Okay.
Way too into himself to give in to the dad life. He is a dad now, sweet little cannon, but he won't give in to the dad life like I have. I'm fully committed.
The next
Wardrobe
thing
and
is
everything.
the white New Balances.
Listen, Noah, our amazing on the water photographer, he says the last 2 tournaments I'm wearing those shirts. He's like, Dad, can we go to Red Lobster after? Every time.
I love
Jerk.
it. I love it. I love it. Hey, the team is having a good time. I said this in the opening part, dude. It wasn't just the anglers that got through some curveballs this week. It was an event. And I mentioned the city had another event, City Fest, going on. We normally have 3 or 4 more volunteers. They were not able to put them there with us this week. And I didn't know that till the last minute. So we weren't able to prepare for traffic control and all that, but we'll have a better plan next week or next year when we go there. That's for dadgum sure. But nothing you can do about people bumping each other. That's all on them.
Demolition Derby in the parking lot. Guys were it was Rubbins Racing.
Yeah.
They took it literal.
They took it literal this time.
The best thing I saw, and it was terrible, but I saw one gentleman ran over the trailer of another guy, and they got out and had a conversation right in front of me. It was told nobody's heated, everybody's good, and they go on about their business. Well, the guy that got rear-ended goes about another 100 yards, rear ends another guy. Right? It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, it is a special time. It is a special time. But
It was
anytime it takes that long to get your boat out, I know that's frustrating. And I apologize in the opening segment. I'll apologize again. We will have a better plan moving into 2025. Again, we normally have 3 to 4 more volunteers than we had there, and they had another event going on, a big event for them. Their City Fest is a quite large event. So, but all in all, a great tournament. I'm not sure what we ended up with dead fish. I usually try to cover that, but I don't know that we had a ton of them. But that is, post-spawn and some people catching them a little bit deeper. So I don't have those numbers right in front of me. But, well, good luck this week on the MPFL in Wisconsin. I know you'll be covering Hartwell. I hope y'all have a good, safe tournament. And I guess we'll see you back at Weiss on June the 1st. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks.
ABT Gauntlet in June.
It will be. I mean, we're back to back to back. We're back to back. Back, skip, back to back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun times.
But we're almost there.
We're almost there.
The season's almost over. It's crazy.
You can almost see the light at the end of the tunnel. If you just really squint, you can almost see the light at the end of the tunnel.
I'm not ready for it to be over. I said this on my podcast. The ABT family, like being a part of it, has been so awesome this year. And we have fun. A lot of the behind the scenes stuff people don't get to see, but like, it's such a good group. We really don't have that bad egg that's like, oh man, I don't want to be around so and so. And you guys may all say that about me when I'm not around. I don't know, but I don't have a bad egg in my life at the ABT. Yeah. And this past weekend at the at the Alabama River, got to bring my bride down and get to introduce her to my ABT family that she hasn't got to meet. Of course, she knows Miss Kay and Darian, but it was special. It was a lot of fun, man. And I just appreciate y'all taking me in and putting up with my silliness.
Well, I talked a little bit in the front end about Mr. Terry Tucker. I saw a late post yesterday about Mike Autry. His daughter posted he had a heart attack yesterday afternoon. Mike's a good friend of ours, fishes the Alabama Bass Trail South Division, owner of the OGS tournaments over there at Lake Martin. But I did fail to give a shout out to Laura, Ann, and Josh, who said their wedding vows on Saturday at 4:00. I saw lots of pictures. It was a beautiful event. I know that that was a real fun deal. We missed it, but congratulations to them. And, the ABT family is something special. And if you've never been a part of it, we can say it all you want to, but when you're a part of it and you know that it's not just a tournament to us, it really isn't. We really... there are times I get frustrated with some people, and Saturday was some of the times, but, I get frustrated, but I do love our family, and that is not just our team. It is our anglers and our sponsors.
No doubt.
And I love getting messages on Monday morning from some of our sponsors that watch the live, and is thankful for what we're out there trying to do and trying to bring live coverage on an amateur basis, because some guys love to talk and then some guys want to shoot you when they see you pull up. So, but I appreciate
you're up there in the studio, the mobile studio, and I get daggers sent my way a lot. Look, my favorite thing is, and I want to suggest next year, we need some kind of flag or something that's on the boat, and we tell them at the meeting, all right, if you see these flags, understand this is Luke, Darian, or Jason. Yeah. But when you pull up and they start looking, they think you're fixing to pull in there and cast. Yeah. I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, hey, Jared or Brenton, when he's with me, get your camera up quick.
Get your camera
up. That way they don't think that.
I know that's what Chris used to say. Kenny, you stand up first. You stand up first, Kenny. Yeah, it is. And especially
they get to slinging daggers.
Dude, when it's as tight and as tough as Alabama River was this week, I'm sure that they were very protective of their areas. So, good luck this week. Glad to have Miss Marissa with us last weekend. Please pass along our hello to her, and we'll see you at Weiss Lake, and we'll try to catch some live with MPFL.
I'll be ready.
All right, thanks. All right, guys, you heard it from Luke Dunkin, his top 5 picks, his dark horse, Stephen McAvoy, Josh Butts. Going to be a fun week at Neely Henry. We'll see y'all back here in just a minute. We're going to take a short break. Be right back.
let me see. Things you let me see.
Well, there you have it, Luke, with his predictions on, we didn't do a weight prediction, but his prediction on his top 5, his dark horse, mine. I think weights are going to be good. I think we're going to see it crest over like 21 pounds to win this event. 40th place check, I'm going to say 13 on a 40th place check. With all the rain we have coming in, it's certainly going to be a current-based situation, I think. So I do think you're going to see spotted bass play a little bit more. So I do want to give you your UAB baseball update. I only have a couple more of these to do, and then I will be completely out of the baseball update mode. UAB baseball, they dropped a midweek game against Jacksonville State University. Not a great showing on our part. Those games are important for kind of sticking your chest out, and they're good in-state wins against really competitive organizations. However, it doesn't really play into our conference. So we were able to pick up 2 of the 3 from Memphis. They had senior recognition week this weekend at UAB. On Sunday, I was able to be there, but we did pick up 2 of the 3 from Memphis. We'll travel to South Florida, the University of South Florida, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday for 3 games that are in conference. Certainly need to pick up 1 win there. 2 would just about guarantee them a spot in the AAC conference tournament, which would be back at Clearwater the following week. So considering they only won 16 games last year, that would be a big achievement for the UAB Blazers to make it to the AAC conference tournament. So fingers crossed. I'm looking forward to flying down on Thursday, flying back on Friday, and being at Neely Henry on Saturday for the event. So looking forward to that. All right, let's close this thing out. I want to thank you for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. For our guests, John Pollard, Luke Dunkin, myself, really appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show in your favorite podcasting app. Don't forget to send me any recommendations or topics you would like for us to cover at k@alabamabasstrail.org. I will do my best to get those on for you. And as always, God bless, good fishing, go Blazers. And as Big Daddy always says, get outdoors. Y'all have a blessed week.
Thanks for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast. To learn more about the Alabama Bass Trail, make sure and visit alabamabasstrail.org.